In 1965, the former president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, said he couldn't respect the present Jews in Israel because they left Israel black and they came back white, because they were Caucasians when they returned, Turkic Mongol Asians from the Caucasus Mountains, the Russian steppes. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. I am black. The Hebrew word there is shachar ha-anya. It literally translates to, I am dark-skinned. Strong's number, and I don't use Strong's numbers very often, but there's gonna be pushback. Strong's number 7838, shachar, from Strong's number 7835, dusky. So the word shachar means dusky. And if you look in the concise Oxford English Dictionary in the 10th edition, dusky means darkish in color, euphemistic of a person black and dark-skinned. And in the Old English Dictionary, it says tending to black.
Can't nobody stop what the Most High put together. We gon' see. In times. Serpents lurking, watchers watching, y'all sure I'll stay on point. They lurking. We under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war. We the generation that's gon' get on one accord. Serpents lurking, watchers watching, y'all sure I'll stay on point. Got real now. We under the covenant, we ain't got no other choice. Gird your loins up, armor up, cause it's time for war.
Started looking into the Elamites, and lo and behold, we find this picture, and this picture's on the walls at Susa in Shushan Palace. Now, if you go to any Bible program app you have on your phone and type in Shushan, Shushan, you will find the references to the Elamites at Shushan Palace. And so when I found this, I was like, okay, this is interesting. These are definitely black people. Furthermore, the Bible refers to the Elamites being archers, and as you can see in the picture here, they all have bows and quivers for arrows. This solidified for me early in my journey that, okay, if there's any truth to Israelites being black, this evidence is very, very convincing, because now I don't have to adhere to the modern European teaching that Shem was brown or Middle Eastern or olive looking, because as I said in the part 1, it doesn't make sense that Ham would be the only black brother. If his father wasn't black, it would make sense for his brothers to be black as well. So we know that Ham was black. We know the Cushites were black. And here we find the first son, the descendants of the first son of Shem are depicted as black. And we can see their hair here. We can see their beards, their hair. It looks like Afro hair. It looks like these are supposed to be kinks or naps or whatever you want to call them. That is black people hair. So that was one of the biggest convincers that the line of Shem was definitely dark, just like the line of Ham.
Hannibal Barca was black. And you see arguments about the Phoenician lineages, and people are going to bring up Berbers, but it's this, I've noticed this attempt to differentiate North Africa from the rest of it. It's attempting to erase the black history of North Africa away, as if like they were never up there to begin with.
As the white man expanded his way across America and wiped out the Indians, so he tried to push his way down through the hot, awful country of desert Africa. In 1880, the French decided that they wanted to build a railway 2,000 miles across the Sahara Desert, down through the country of the Tuareg, the local natives, of the Tuareg, the local natives, of the Tuareg, the local natives.
Hannibal Barca was black. and you see arguments about the Phoenician lineages, and people are going to bring up Berbers, but it's this, I've noticed this attempt to differentiate North Africa from the rest of it. It's attempting to erase the black history of North Africa away, as if like they were never up there to begin with.
But racially speaking, who were the ancient Egyptians?
The population were black, but that doesn't mean they look like West Africans. Some did, some didn't, but Africa, as the homeland of mankind, has more varied types than almost any other continent. But the Egyptian basic population was East African, but there were some Middle or West African types in the population. They lived in Egypt. The language they spoke was a language which seems to have developed in Ethiopia and Kenya, part of the great Afro-Asiatic language family. And most of the formation of Egypt seems to have happened in Upper Egypt or on the Nubian frontier of Egypt or beyond it.
And we're talking about what period? The early period?
We're talking about the Old Kingdom, and that period you get a higher proportion in the representations of people looking black by
Okay, well, let's go to the slides if you...
Okay, well, in fact, the lady we have now, Queen Tai, who is the mother of the famous King Akhenaten, is in the New Kingdom. It so happens that a large number of the most powerful dynasties originated in the south of the country and therefore were black. The first dynasty, as I mentioned, the 11th dynasty, which founded the Middle Kingdom, and the 12th dynasty, which was probably the greatest dynasty in Egyptian history, and the 18th dynasty, to which Queen Tai belongs. Then we have the famous Senwosret I, known to the Greeks as Sesostris.
Distance from the forehead to the back of the skull is long in relation to the overall height of the cranium, and that's something that you see quite frequently in certain populations, one of which is ancient Egyptians. Another would be black African groups in certain populations, one of which is ancient Egyptians. Another would be black African groups.
Ancient Egyptians, black African groups.
In a study of 2,861 Egyptian skulls spanning the pre-dynastic and all dynasties, well over 95% of Egyptian skulls were classified as dolichocephalic. Strong dolichocephaly is typical of southern Nilotic African populations, such as the Kalenjin and Maasai, whose cephalic index of 73% is virtually identical to that of the ancient Egyptians. Yet this index is so far from the norms of Eurasian brachycephalic skulls that they would be considered a deformity within such populations.
They were dark skinned, but they were not black. But they're not Negro.
What? What?
Because look at the lips of the Negroes like that, and the nose like this. It's not really the Egyptian origin at all. It's different, completely different. And this is why you cannot connect the Egyptian civilization with the African at all. It's different. Or from Cerebras time, Mesopotamia, it's different, completely.
It better be more detailed than that. I could have told you that, kind of.
Okay.
Oh my god, so I'm 75.8% Europe.
European. You're 75% European.
You married a bare white girl, bro. And then 12.7% Africa.
So we're in Africa.
North Africa, that's Egypt.
North Africa, West Africa, Nigeria.
So Europe is North and West Europe, and then South Europe, which is Iberian Greek, and then Ashkenazi Jewish, 1%. 1%. What's the Ashkenazi? Then it says 11.5% Middle East. But it doesn't say like where in the Middle East, so... Oh, here we go. Many people from North African region known as the Maghreb, which encompasses modern day Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. Oh, no, Egypt then.
What?
It doesn't say Egypt there.
Egypt's in North Africa. Well, we knew Dina was Egyptian. We already knew.
I'm not even Egyptian.
Do you know what I
need to break this to Baba. I need to call my dad up right now.
Oh, he'd go mad.
Baba! He calls me 24/7. No, he's not going to answer.
Maybe he's got no reception.
You've called isn't available at the moment.
Alright, forget that. I'm just going to WhatsApp him.
So they can get back to you. Just speak after the tone.
Baba, I'm not Egyptian. I'm 78% European, and then I'm only 11% Middle Eastern, and they don't even say it's Egypt. Can you believe it? Mafish Masr, Mafish Turkey. We're not Egyptian, bro.
Before the project started, I was hoping that I could identify or could be able to find evidence that support independent origin of Chinese in China, because I'm a Chinese and came from China, and through the education process, I always believed that there's something special about Chinese.
He singled out a male genetic marker which only appeared about 80,000 years ago in Africa. So any man who carries that marker must have recent African ancestors and can't be descended from the more ancient Asian Homo erectus. Jin took DNA from over 160 ethnic groups around East Asia. Over 12,000 samples. And so, what did you find?
We did not see any, even one single individual that could be considered as the descendant of the Homo erectus in China. Rather, everybody was a descendant of our ancestors from Africa.
I got kicked out of class because they said Africans, prior to the involvement with Europeans, didn't know how to cook food, so we ate our food raw.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Because the way these English historians just do too much.
Now, you see me, I was very rebellious in school. So I put my hand up. That's actually not true. And she was like, tell me why it's not true. My mum is from the city. My father was from the village. My father had taken me to his village a few times. They cooked with clay pots. She was like, no, it's impossible to cook a clay pot. I go, I'm telling you, I've seen it in my own eyes. I've seen them make stew and soup in clay pots over stoves. No, you're lying. That's not true. I said, okay, well, even if it's not true, we have been using metal long before Europeans came.
Yeah.
And do you know how I knew? My janitor at the school, he gave me a book. In one segment of the book, it talks about manipulated metal and how Africans have been manipulating metals for centuries. And it showed cooking utensils. So I said, oh, well, Winston gave me a book. And in that book, it said Africans have been using metal to fight, cook, and design for centuries. And the teacher was like, no, it's when Europeans came. I goes, well, then that will only make it a couple of 100 years. I'm talking about centuries. She kicked me out of the class.
Of course she did.
And we're not here to create any political tension. We're here to talk about the Jewish story and experience of the Igbo people, which, by the way, 20% of the transatlantic slave trade comes specifically from the Igbos. So a lot of people
a lot of people are Nigerian and test they do the ancestry test. I'm Nigerian, man. And my friends call me. I'm like 43%, bro.
Yeah.
Shit, we all look alike. What the fuck you think? Why are you surprised? That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's mad. I support you like a motherfucker, dude. I love it. I'm like, yo, because it needs to be talked about, a guy like yourself. And how many people are actually backing you that are young like you, that are like, yo, hell yeah, let's connect with our people. Is there a big...
There's a movement.
I mean, is there a movement?
The younger generation is different than the older generation.
Of course.
Right? The younger generation is more open-minded, and they're looking for something. Everyone is hungry for something, but there's nothing really being offered. And so even within the black community within America, people are looking for identity. Right? I used a few times the term African-American. I mean, I've been in many conversations. Africa is a continent. It's not a country. Right. And American is an experience that they really weren't a part of this entire time. And black is a skin color, which is an experience today, unfortunately, because there's such thing called racism, which is an invention of human beings, but not an actual thing. We're not different because of our skin color. So what are they? What's their language? What's their history? What's their culture? What's their traditions? What's their purpose in this world? Right? A lot of people lost their identity and are looking for it. And there is truth that a lot of people of color descend from Israelite tribes from Africa, the ones that we're going to visit, the populations that they were targeting historically till this day, the Igbos, right? Why always, and the Igbos are the richest and most educated demographic in all of Africa. Hold up. And the Igbos in society are always blamed for what? Running the media. Running the economy. We're starting to see a trope and a similarity and a pattern.
So what he's saying is Godfrey runs this podcast.
Let me say, if I ran the media, I'd be on my 10th sitcom right now. Okay. I'd be on every fucking TV show right now. Yeah.
You change the name from Seinfeld to Godfrey.
Yeah, but this is I like this kind of thing because it's hard to break and to talk about this, because usually you see those.
It shouldn't be.
You know those Hebrew Israelite, the brothers in America with the shit, and they got the cape, and people will see that and go, "Oh, they're extremists." Do they know what they're talking about? You ever connect with those guys?
All the time.
And are they making sense, or are they not?
They're different groups. They're not one monolith. And a lot of them fight between each other. I mean, that's also typical of the Jews.
Yeah.
Right? So you have people who still believe in Jesus. You have people who've rejected Jesus amongst the Black Israelite tribes.
Yeah.
You have those who believe that the Jews are also Jews, those of us that are Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, others. And there's the replacement theology that, no, we're the real Jews, they're the fake Jews. Right. And the reason this comes from is because there's a phenomenon happening where a lot of people of color, not just in America, in the Caribbeans, in South America, wherever the slave trade went to, they're waking up to their identity. This is a real thing. It's a phenomenon. We have to address it. But when they're coming to other Jews and saying, my brother, I finally found out who I am. Come, let's unite together. Then most Jews who've never heard this idea, and because a lot of them were raised in Europe, so have a lot of European mentality, then start saying, there's no way you're Jewish. You're black or you're African. We've never heard of such a thing. Right. So go away. Now, to a person that's really hurt and has been hurt for hundreds of years and has generational trauma in their DNA passed down to them, they're like, if they were really Hebrews, they would accept me. It must be that they're not the real Jews. And so that's where the problem is. And that's, if you look at Kyrie's documentary, there's a lot of truths in there.
Right.
But it falls on deaf ears because there's a lot of false things in there as well.
Okay.
Which is why we need to open up this conversation and really be very specific as to what are their origins. If you look at a lot of the names during the slave trade, a lot of them had Jewish names when they were brought to this country, and then their names were erased and changed into something else.
Of course.
From the creation of the world to the present time, by R.B. Louis. This book was published in the year 1844. Okay guys, so here we are on page 353. So I'm going to read this section, guys, the highlighted section on the screen. Let's see what it tells us, okay? So this is talking about Isaiah, the Old Testament prophet. Okay, Isaiah is an Israelite, guys, okay? Let's see what it says about him. Isaiah, the prophet, the son of Amos, was an Ethiopian. He wasn't really an Ethiopian. He's not an Ethiopian by race, but I think by continent, I think he's trying to say that he lived on the Ethiopian continent. If you guys don't know this, the Atlantic Ocean today used to be called the Ethiopian Ocean. So he's not actually saying that Isaiah, this Israelite man, was an Ethiopian, but he was from the region of Ethiopia, right? He lived in that region that used to be known as Ethiopia. Today it's not known as Ethiopia, guys, okay? But he's an Israelite, let's make that clear. Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, was an Ethiopian who prophesied unto Egypt and Ethiopia, as God commanded him, saying, go and loose the sackcloth from off your loins, and put off your shoes from your feet. Walk naked and barefoot. He did so 3 years for a sign and a wonder unto Egypt and Ethiopia, preaching unto his brethren the word of God. But they obeyed not the word of the Lord by the mouth of the prophets, and were led away, young and old, naked and barefoot, into captivity, slavery. Yes, you can read that in Isaiah chapter 20. Now listen to this. As they were black, so was he. Yes. Okay, the prophet Isaiah was a black man. As he was naked, so were they, led naked and barefoot, young and old, into captivity, even unto this day. Remember, this book was written in 1844, so he's talking about in 1844, even unto that time, from Africa. Okay, from Africa, their descendants are led away by a wicked people into slavery. Okay, he just told you a few things there. One, Isaiah was a black man. As Isaiah was black, so was the Israelites. They were black people. He's telling you that the descendants of Isaiah are those people who were led into slavery from Africa, guys. Okay, crazy stuff. These books are meant to open the eyes of people into realizing that the Negro race today, the ones that can be found in America, can be found in Europe, can be found in Africa, can be found in Australia. These people that have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth today, they are the true Israelites, okay? The Negroes are the Israelites. Okay.
You ever hear African Jews?
African Jews?
So these are black Jews, all right? They're stranded in the middle of Ethiopia.
And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade. And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans. You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves, or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there. And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
Hi, Shalom, Shalom from Israel. This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro. And I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are. But you are the children of Yahweh, the children of Israel. And I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem, because us the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you actually the children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you gonna save us. So please come back to Zion.
Destruction gotta come, that's how he get us out this lane. The devil working hard, trying to get us out his plane. His sheep hear his voice, so he can't get us out his hand. We gon' trust the Son of Man, blow your wings, Father. Your kingdom coming, we just trying to make it in, Father. Rather we